What's going on, everyone? So, DeMar DeRozan has been a hot topic the last few days, specifically with the Los Angeles Lakers. It looked at points like he was going to go to the Lakers, but then supposedly he didn't want to take the mid-level exception, and so the Lakers were trying to work out a sign and trade. But DeMar DeRozan wants $25 million a year, and with the sign and trade, the new CBA rule, you have to sign a guy to a 3-year deal for a sign and trade. And so it's just made things really complicated. But DeMar DeRozan has said, maybe he'll just sign a 1-year deal and then kind of go back into free agency in 2025 when more teams have cap space. But then the Miami Heat came in and they got involved and they were interested in DeMar DeRozan. But now reports have came out that DeMar DeRozan to Miami is extremely unlikely because Miami is not in the position to be able to pull off a sign and trade currently. And so it's kind of been this mess. LeBron James comes in, and LeBron is expected to sign a max contract, but he can't sign the contract till the 6th of this month, so Saturday. And so it's kind of like this timeline crunch of like, okay, is DeMar going to decide to go to Lakers? And then LeBron decides, okay, fine, I'll take the discount. Is Miami going to figure it out? What is going to happen? But it's looking like it's very possible that DeMar ends up with neither. Which begs the question of like, who else is going to take him? Where else is DeMar DeRozan going to go? Right? Half the league can't even trade for him. A quarter of the league makes no sense for him because, or to even acquire him both ways. Not for him to go and not for them to sign because everyone's going to be taking for Cooper Flag. And, all the bottom feeding teams, like, are they really going to put their salary into DeMar DeRozan for a year? And then that's going to cost losses. Like, it just doesn't make sense for that. And then the other quarter, half of them don't even make sense. It's like a handful of teams, and the Lakers and the Heat might be out of the equation. So who are those other teams? Well, one is the Sacramento Kings. The other is the San Antonio Spurs. Yes, based on reports, the San Antonio Spurs may be interested in bringing in DeMar DeRozan. Now, currently, I don't think that makes sense at all, right? I just don't. I look at DeMar DeRozan, and yeah, like, he's an excellent basketball player still. And could you give him a 1-year deal for, $20 million or whatever and just have him as like a placeholder? Sure, you could do that. But if you did that, you're taking away from Vassell. You're taking away from Castle, right? Like, you just signed Chris Paul. Like, it doesn't make sense and add up to me. It's just like, why would you want to bring in DeMar DeRozan because DeMar DeRozan, he's not going to go to the Spurs to go come off the bench, right? He's not going to go to the Spurs to be the 7th man and play 15 minutes a game. It doesn't make any sense. Like, yeah, he wants his money, but he also wants to play, right? He's still been one of the best fourth quarter players, still been one of the best crunch time and clutch players, right? Like, DeMar DeRozan still has game. DeMar DeRozan still can do a lot. And the San Antonio Spurs, it's just like, yeah, I understand the relationship, but also didn't like DeMar and the Spurs have like a little falling out? Like, I know him and Greg Popovich, they're great. And I know like DeMar's even recently talked about, Greg Popovich and how much he loves him and stuff like that. And he shared that story when he had a loss in the family and all that stuff. But if I'm not mistaken, didn't like DeMar and the Spurs have like a little, I remember there being something. I don't remember exactly what it was off the top of my head, but nonetheless, even if everything's good and he would be willing to go back to the Spurs, like, why does it make sense for the Spurs? So what, are you bringing Castle off the bench? Are you bringing, Vassell off the bench? Are you trading both? Right? Are you trading, not Castle, but are you trading like Vassell? It doesn't add up. However, if the Spurs were to, say, go get Lauri Markkanen, which supposedly they are actively trying to pursue and they're trying to acquire via trade, and it's kind of looking like it's the Spurs or the Warriors. Now, if they were to get Lauri Markkanen, DeMar might make a little more sense, because one, it's very possible you could end up having to give up Vassell to go get Markkanen. Even if you don't, if you get Lauri Markkanen, you have Chris Paul and you have Victor Wembanyama, well, now DeMar DeRozan makes a little more sense. Now DeMar DeRozan, it's kind of like, okay, you give it a year, sign DeMar DeRozan for a year, and just see what happens, right? Go Chris Paul, DeMar DeRozan, Lauri Markkanen, Victor Wembanyama. You probably still have Castle, so you could probably go Castle. You probably go, your starting five is probably Chris Paul, Stephon Castle, DeMar DeRozan, Lauri Markkanen, and Victor Wembanyama. I like that. Defensively, a little questionable, right? But Castle, I think he's a guy that could do the dirty work, get after it, be a point of attack guy for you. Chris Paul is not the defender he once was, but he's still good at, disrupting passing lanes and reading passes and get the occasional steal. DeMar DeRozan actually has had very serviceable just defensive stances. He's not great. He's not elite, but he is a guy that, can get after it. And in 4 out of the last 5 seasons, he's had a defensive rating of 115 or better, which is better than league average, which has been like 116 the last few years. So, can he be serviceable? And then Victor Wembanyama just covers so much ground. And then you have Lauri Markkanen. So you have size, you have scoring. Offensively, you'd be probably fantastic. I mean, imagine Chris Paul wheeling and dealing with all that offensive firepower and all that size. Whew, that would be tough, right? So to me, it's like, okay, if you get Lauri Markkanen, DeMar makes a little more sense because it's like you could give it a year and just kind of see, maybe you stumble into the conference finals. Or maybe you get really lucky and you stumble into the NBA finals. And you never know, right? Stranger things have happened. And depending on how much strides Victor Wembanyama takes, I mean, he was arguably already a top 15 player last year. If he can move into the top 10, right? And on top of that, he's already the best defensive player in the league. So you have the best defender. You have arguably a top 15 player already. Maybe even better. I think you could probably make a compelling argument. And, if he gets better, which he probably will, you had Chris Paul and the Chris Paul effect as far as like win percentages go. DeMar DeRozan's a guy that still has been one of the best closers in the NBA the last few years. And then Lauri Markkanen, what he could, you got essentially 4 guys that all get you 20 plus. And that's not counting if you keep Johnson or you keep Vassell. I don't hate it if you get Markkanen. But regardless, right? Like DeMar DeRozan, it doesn't make sense unless you're just kind of trying to like, hey, let's roll the dice this year and just see. Like, let's have a little fun. Because, just to bring DeMar DeRozan, like Chris Paul, I get. Chris Paul also is coming on with the understanding, right? He got $11 million because he knows that, hey, I'm coming here to be a mentor, to help grow and develop these players that are young. I'm here to, help Stephon Castle evolve into that point guard one day. I'm here to, yes, like play basketball, win a couple games here and there, but, he's fully aware of the situation he's in. He's fully aware of why he was paid and brought in, right? So the thing is with DeMar, he just doesn't fit that. And like I said, you're taking away from Vassell, you're taking away from Castle, you're taking away from all these other guys and stunting their growth and development. Now, if DeMar was willing to come in and kind of, again, play the Chris Paul role, and it's like, hey, you're coming off the bench, probably only play like 20 minutes or so a game, but we really want you to just be a mentor for these young guys. Like, sure. But he's still still a 24-point-a-game guy. He's still an excellent basketball player. I don't see him going, and especially when he could have, and still technically could go to the Lakers, right? It's like, at least there you're going to start, and at least you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and that gives you a chance to maybe actually win a chip. Like, again, I don't think DeMar by himself makes the Lakers a contender, but, he definitely make them better, definitely give them a good chance, right? But better than the Spurs would be right now with just Victor and Chris Paul. Right? I like Vassell, I like Castle, I like these guys, but they're all young. Like, how much can you count on these guys to carry the workload to get you to the finals and win a championship? At least LeBron and AD are proven, right? So it doesn't make sense to me personally, but apparently, based on the reports, Spurs are interested. So we'll see how it plays out. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you like the idea of DeMar DeRozan? joining the Spurs? Do you think no, stay away from him? He doesn't make sense. He'd hinder the young guys. Basically everything that I highlighted in this video. Do you think, no, go get him? Like, he'd be great. Do you think if you get Markkanen, then yeah, sure, do it. Again, how you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.